Hi, Jasmine. It's Wednesday. I'm going to do your tag. I'm sorry I'm so late all the time. But let's dive right in, shall we? Question 1. What was your biggest fear as a child? I'm going to be very TMI and honest here. I was born with a condition where I had way too much body hair, and especially on my legs. And it was dark and thick and curly. And I was always, we were required to wear dresses to school when I was a little child. I was always afraid people were going to see it and bully me. And that's what happened. Question 2. A memory of your mother. Well, my favorite, you already know the memory that I told last week about my mom and religion. Well, anyway, this is one of my favorite memories of my mother. When my family was in Scotland, we visited Edinburgh, and there is a hill with, I guess it's a castle, I don't remember, but the hill's name was Arthur's Seat. And we wanted to climb up the hill. It big, okay? It was a big hill. You can look it up. Arthur's Seat. Anyway, we did that. We hiked up, and there were sheep on the hill grazing the grass, to keep it short, because this was 1970. Okay, so, they didn't have gardeners trimming the grass. They used sheep. And of course, the sheep pooped everywhere. And my mom didn't want us stepping in the poop and tracking it back to the car. So she straddled a huge pile of poop. And can you imagine this 40-year-old lady, young woman with wild kids, straddling a big pile of sheep dung? And it looked like, in our minds, we were just children. In our minds, it was like she had taken the dump herself. Okay. There weren't a whole lot of people climbing Arthur's Seat back then. I think there are today a whole lot of people, but I'm not sure. Anyway, that's one of my favorite memories of my mother. But she was a hard-headed, stubborn boss, but she wasn't mean. She just knew how things had to be done, and we had to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. That's how it was. A memory of your father. Well, one of my first memories of my father was that he would always wink at me. And even as a little baby, I learned how to wink back. Either eye. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. But I remember loving to go camping every summer several times. And he always set up the tent and had us pump up our air mattresses and go foraging for twigs and stuff, for the campfire, and taking us fishing and hiking. And he was a fun guy. And he was a librarian at a theological seminary, and when my sister and I were old enough, he put us to work, and he taught us the Dewey Decimal System so we could put books back on the shelf in the right place. Yeah, I think I was like 16. I think that was when we got back from England. Okay, memory of your grandparents. Oh, my grandmother was so sweet. I only knew one set of grandparents, my mom's parents, because my dad's parents passed away when he was a young child. Now, there's a story in that. So I never knew them. I just knew what my dad told us, and my aunts and uncles told us. But anyway, my mom's mom, she was so sweet, and she was the ultimate preacher's wife and housewife. And she made the best dinner rolls you have ever tasted in your life. And she used to get up in the middle of the night to start these rolls. And she would make them for my grandfather to take to the men's prayer breakfast. I think it was once a week. And she made them every time we came, and she made the best fudge. And she was very polite, and she had a quiet voice and a cute little laugh. And she liked to tell stories about her Aunt Julia and her grandmother and her children when they were little kids. And I just really enjoyed being with her. And she also put us to work, you know. It's, a lot of people can relate to this. Snapping beans on the front porch. Snapping beans on the front porch. Green beans. If you know, you know. And my grandfather was a preacher. He was not a fire and brimstone preacher, but he was very passionate about his work and taking care of his parishioners, and he never voted one day in his life. He never, ever voted. So, of course, my grandmother didn't either. Even after women got the vote, she didn't vote because her husband didn't vote. And he used to love to play with his grandchildren, but he was a little rough. He would sit in his armchair with a yardstick, a wooden yardstick, and we would run around the circle, you know, between the kitchen, the hallway, the den where he was, and through the back porch entry. It made a circle in the house. And he would whip our legs with that wooden yardstick, and we thought it was funny, but it hurt. So looking back now, it was kind of on the verge of being abusive, but nobody said anything. So it was just, we all remember that it was a fun game, but we all acknowledged that it did hurt. Okay, and the last question, memory of me as a child. I can remember ever since I was 7 on upward. We lived in a house that had mint growing in the backyard. Like 3 houses in different places, of course. And I used to go in the backyard and pick mint and eat it. And it was so good, and I still eat mint plain by itself to this day. And I like to put it in my iced tea. Yeah. Other than that, I could talk all day about myself as a child, but I won't. So, good tag. See you next week. Bye.